Hello everyone, this is Frederick Hudson right now. I'm going to be going over our project. I'm going to be talking about some of the general parts of our project and then give you kind of a background on it. Now, if we can get started, we're going to go ahead and just present. So, as you might have known, we were in charge of doing the first version for the biometric identification project. It was me, Frederick Hassan, and then my partner, Andy Garcia, our product owner, Rochelle Topes from Citrix, and then our professor, Dr. Masoud Sajadi. So, this is a quick preview of what I'm going to be talking about as far as background. Okay, so we know if you've ever had to log into an application, you might be acquainted with simple security procedures. And part of this is having sort of like a layering in our security. The most basic layering that we can see is when we do sort of like a username password combination, right? Everybody's very acquainted with that. And that can be highly exploitable, of course, because you're letting the user kind of design their own security based on the strength of their password and whatnot. So what we're here to basically talk about is the two-factor authentication, which in a sense we kind of get that same layer of security and we add on top of it another layer of security. And so if we were to talk about this whole process, we're basically talking about authentication, which is where we're validating a user's identity in a given application. Now, there's three types of authentication. Something that you know, a password PIN that we've already gone through that one. Something they have, a phone, a key, something that they had previously, and then something the user is. That can be a biometric check, so a fingerprint, voice scan, face ID. Those are sort of the categories for the authentication systems. Now, the project. So as we just talked about, there's different layers of security. So we are going to basically talk about a two-factor authentication system, kind of what we just mentioned of. And then our first factor of authentication is going to be the username password combination. And then our second factor for that will be a biometric check that is a face scan. So it uses your camera to scan you and then authenticate you into the application. Now, that's the overall project purpose. Kind of unpacking it a little bit, we have a desktop application where users will be able to do their first factor of authentication, logging in through password and username. And then the mobile application would be in charge of not only authenticating users through the camera, but also registering users in the platform. So another part of this is obviously storing some important information, which I will go more in depth when we have to talk about the structure of the code and how Microsoft Cognitive Services work. But for now, we're just going to say that we use Firebase to store some key components that help us develop the flow of the application. Architecture. This is a simple system design. We have our Firebase database, socket server, which is the medium by which our desktop application and our mobile application can talk to each other. Mobile application talks to Azure Phase API services. We use Git version control and Electron to design the desktop application, which makes it a cross-platform design. And then we use Azure DevOps to build the pipeline for the desktop. For the mobile, that's not yet in production or in the development area. Now, in the mobile application, some of the major features, the users can authenticate themselves with the camera. They can use Microsoft Cognitive Services to handle recognition, validation, and upload images. It's basically a registration process in which users create login information and face profile. And there's some error handling that is done through the Firebase Authentication API as well. These are some of the technologies that we use. In the mobile side, we basically just did Swift. So it's only iOS as of now. We talked about Firebase, Git for version control, and then Socket.io for the overall communication. This is a sample registration process here, the flow sequence diagram that you can see. If you want, you can just check it out in the PowerPoint and just take your time to really unpack it. I'm not really going to talk a lot about these because we're going to have other videos where we're really going to unpack all these stuff. The overall class diagram for the mobile application, desktop application, some of the features of it is that users have the ability to log in via email and password. And if you don't have an email or password, then you will be prompted to create one through the mobile application. It has a real-time communication between the desktop application itself with the mobile application. And then once users are logged into the mobile side, the desktop application can then open the camera for the mobile user and then authenticate them. And then such response, the result of that will be then logged back into the desktop application. This is the stack that we use for the desktop application. We use React Native, we use Socket.io, Firebase, and Electron. Again, another sequence diagram and a class diagram, but we're going to be talking about those in separate videos. Some of our results. This is a sample login screen from the desktop application. We have a sample email with a given password. Then this will be sort of what will happen afterwards. A mobile camera will be enabled on the user. A user would then take a selfie. Then if the user is authenticated, it will say successfully logged in, and then if not, it will say user is not properly authenticated. Now some of our acknowledgements. We really have to thank Catherine Machine. She helped us develop the UI. It ended up looking quite smooth from what we had before, so thank you so much, Catherine. And then obviously huge thanks to our mentor, Rachel Tsok. She came to us with this project, and it was a huge learning experience. We both learned a lot of different technologies, and we thank for her support, her dedication to really improving this project and helping us grow as developers. That will be the end of this presentation. We'll go more into depth again onto those other components that we talked about briefly here. So yeah, stay tuned for that on the other videos. Thank you.